Hey guys.
Hi, Christine.
How y'all doing? So a bunch of people told me that since my dad's been preaching sermons about me, I should, since this is Father's Day and all, I should take this opportunity to preach a sermon to him. But unfortunately, by the time that was suggested to me, it was a great idea, and I really wish I'd thought of it. I'd already finished the sermon, so I know you're all disappointed. Sorry. Anyway. Get you later. First off, let me just say that ever since AP exams have finished for us seniors way back in May, we've been done. And I mean totally done. I haven't written anything or been particularly creative or insightful since then, so you'll have to forgive me if this sermon is a bit boring or unrefined. I'm a bit off my stride of that whole doing work thing. So today's sermon is based on a pretty well-known story, a sinful woman washing Jesus' feet with her hair. I've got to say, this woman is a lot braver than I'd ever be. She's a known sinner, probably been sleeping around and prostituting and such, and she just waltzes into this room with all of these priests and religious higher-ups, all of whom have probably berated her or openly spoken ill of her. It might have taken some doing just to get into the place, and I'm sure the atmosphere really wasn't that welcoming. I mean, it takes some guts to crash a party, so to go to all that trouble must have meant she was pretty dedicated, and she was certainly pretty gutsy. Now, at first glance in this gospel, it might seem like Jesus is saying that those who sin more need to be forgiven more, and thus they love more, so if you really want to follow Christ, you should go out and sin as much as possible. Except that isn't true at all, as we all know. Truth be told, the Pharisees in that room were just as sinful as that woman. Their sin might not have been as blatant or apparent, but we all know there's more than one way to sin. They just didn't realize their own sin, or choose to ask for forgiveness. They could not be forgiven much because they didn't ask to be forgiven. Now, this might seem pretty easy, but honestly, this is one of the things I have the most trouble with. A lot of the times I consider myself to be a pretty good person who's doing pretty well in life. I mean, I have a few flaws here and there, but who doesn't? And most of the time I'm doing better than the rest, right? I mean, I have friends who go out and drink on weekends, who lie to their friends and family, who mess around with sex and drugs. I look at them and I look at me, and I don't think I really need to make that many changes. I tend to focus more on helping others fix themselves than focusing on fixing my own life. And I tend to feel as if I don't really need to ask for that much grace. Of course, that's just what the Pharisees thought too. But our souls don't just suffer from the big sins, those blatant sins the whole world sees and looks down upon. I know I oftentimes suffer more from the little things, the things most people don't hold against me. I feel bad if a bunch of my friends and I are hanging out and I don't take the time to call and invite another friend who doesn't often get invited to things. I feel bad if I'm always too busy to spend time with old friends or new ones. I feel bad if I'm out every night of the week and haven't seen my family in ages. I feel bad if I always show up late just because I try to do one more thing before I hop in the car. I feel bad if I procrastinate on really important things, like scholarships or the sermon, for example. None of these things are huge or disastrous, and none of them will spell the end of the world. But as humans, we all make so many little mistakes, and we all just need so much grace. Allowing God to smooth over so many of these little mistakes we are also bound to make, no matter how hard we try not to, does allow us to love more deeply and fully. And the Jesus of this passage is only too willing to forgive. As long as we just ask, he's more than willing to do, or at least help with, all the rest. The more we realize our own shortcomings, the more we can forgive others' flaws and not take it so hard when our friends arrive late, or our families can't spend time with us. When we ask for grace, we understand that we are no better than anyone else. I have been shown so much of this grace and love at St. Matthew's throughout my 6 years here, and I honestly can say that I would not be here today if it were not for all of you. The love and dedication of my church family and friends has helped me so much over the years and shown me so much grace when the world has so often been unwilling to. It is one of the things I love most about St. Matthew's. We tend not to judge people. We would much rather show them that they are loved, and I cannot tell you how beautiful that is. I think this is in part because we are not afraid to realize our mistakes, ask for forgiveness, and try to correct them as best as we are able. This sinful woman was brave enough to crash a party full of people who hated her, and she was brave enough to recognize her own sin and brave enough to ask for grace. It is not exactly the courage of the dragon-slaying knight, but perhaps it is far more relevant to us all here today. I pray that we may all have such bravery. Amen.